Hello and welcome to another episode of the Men of ZEN, an animation research podcast. My name is Brent.
And I'm Phil.
And today we got a bunch of fun stuff planned for you. We've got a wonderful anime that I was actually more impressed with than I thought I would be in some ways.
You're goddamn right you were.
Well, I mean, it was kind of a letdown in others, but this was a really fun ride for the most part. I did enjoy this anime. Today we are talking about Blue Gender, a Japanese anime television series created by Ryosuke Takahashi. Now, first and foremost, Ryosuke Takahashi, if you have ever seen any sort of anime that uses a mech or mech-like thing like Gundam or Evangelion, this man is the reason you have those things. He practically invented mechs like the way they are.
Dude, if you put a mech in an anime, I'm already like 20% more interested.
Right? And I mean, again, this guy, he is so prolific with this. It's insane. We wouldn't have these shows without this man, and I've got a bunch of really good information on that guy. I'm so excited to talk about him. It's phenomenal, the other stuff that he's worked on. I've watched a couple of his other series, and so Blue Gender, I had this, I don't know what to call it, not necessarily a love-hate relationship with the series, but I remember seeing ads for it on like Toonami.
So for me, it was like Adult Swim is where I first saw it.
Oh, maybe it was Adult. No, you're right. Yeah, it was Adult Swim. No, you're right. Yeah,
it was this for me. This show has a special place in my heart because it is more than likely. I cannot think of any other anime that could take this spot besides Blue Gender. But this anime, straight up, is the first time I ever watched an adult themed anime, like something that is, kids should not watch this. It's just like blood and gore. It was the first time I ever saw something quite like that. And almost like probably was like the first horror anime I've ever watched too, because I would say this is, a bit of a horror anime.
Yeah, I'd say for its time, sure.
For its time, yeah. And it just, oh man, like it as a little kid, little young Phil, this was ingrained into my memory.
Little tiny Phil.
Yeah, like I would watch trailers and I'm like, holy crap, this looks really cool, but scary. And I remember like curling up in a ball watching the show sometimes and like covering my eyes because it got that intense. But like I said, young Phil, I've seen a lot of crazy shit since then. So it's not as scary as I thought it was back in the past, but this show to me is just the first time I ever saw that darker, more adult, more mature anime.
Fair.
And I think that's why it stuck with me all these years.
See, it never, like you said on Adult Swim, I remember seeing the ads and I remember going, this is when I stopped watching. Like, I just did not care. I did not think it looked cool for me personally. Like, when we talk a little bit more about the show, I'll give my point of view a little bit more clearly. But this, I didn't care. I was like, looks dumb. And then I would watch to something else. This was when I stopped watching. I was like, all right, fun's over. And I don't know. It never really piqued my interest. It's interesting going back to it now, watching it for the first time, because this has all of like the flash and flare of the 90s anime style that I do love the animation in this. It's going back to that really gritty, it's kind of got that grainy film, like hand-drawn, like texture sort of vibe to it, high detail, and I love it. However, this is also an anime that is absolutely guilty of doing we drew a single panel and slowly panned the screen up for 3 minutes. It's like it's not animation.
They did the best they could at the time.
It's just a big picture and they panned up.
You're a big picture.
I'm trying to be the big picture. Oh shit. it was good. I had fun with this. So let's get into a little bit about what exactly is Blue Gender, set in the year 2031, in which Earth has been overrun by blue insectoid creatures that kill and harvest humans for food.
Just to clarify that, they're not blue. They are called the blue.
They're like, so there's all sorts of different types of blue.
Right.
They're, like, some of them, when you first see them, remind me of, like, really big, like, ticks.
Oh yeah, no, like it's crazy that you start out with like the very basic, well, pretty much it is what it is, the basic form of the blue. It's, looks like a big brown tick with like two big
like a big brown turd.
Yeah, big, like big, they have like big horns on them that they use to like thrash about. And then you get blue that are like, giant flying praying mantis looking ones, some that are just like big, like hulking beetle looking. Basically, have you ever seen the movie Starship Troopers?
I know I
very
have,
similar.
but it's been a really long time.
It's very similar. Humanity is at war with giant insectoid monsters. It's very similar to that, but I love the designs of the blue. I think that they are, at the time, as a kid, I thought they were terrifying. And if seeing one of these in real life, I would like, nope, I'm out. I'm out of here.
They're not. I don't think they're grotesque enough for me in the anime to go, oh no, it's so scary. Like, I didn't give it. Like, you can clearly tell Ryosuke's his whole like forte is the mechs that show up in this.
Yeah, the mechs are so
That's
cool.
what's badass. The blue seems like he's like, I don't know what to fucking do with it. And they're like, make them round, I guess.
Make them round, make them like
they look
sketchy.
very unintimidating. And sometimes, at least at first for me, it was kind of hard to, I don't know. They do a lot of zoomed in close-up shots of these things' faces, and it just...
When they like open up their face masks.
Yeah, they got this weird like little... Yeah, they make that like gross noise, and you're like, okay, I guess. I didn't care. But
like,
the
hiss
mechs
at you.
are really cool. Don't get me wrong. And yeah, I mean, if I saw one of these things in real life, you bet I'd shit my fucking pants. I would try to run away so goddamn fast that I'd you know what? I have asthma. I wouldn't run very far at all. I would probably run about 30 feet, and then I would just have to sit down and be like, fuck it.
just take me now.
Get it over with.
But sorry, I interrupted you. I just wanted to clarify, they are called the blue, but they are, in most part, not blue.
Right. Hence the blue gender is what we get to. And it's got a really interesting twist that I did really like, that you'll have to watch this to understand more about. But the
big thing is they kill and harvest humans for food as a source of energy, which is
yes.
they do really well in the first episode.
Yeah.
Where this is literally in the first like 10 minutes, so no spoilers at all. The blue like literally knocks out two soldiers and then just spits this acid on them.
Yeah.
And then like you see their bodies start like kind of like drooping down, like the acid was melting them or making them more like it was making them more like bendable almost. And like then you see the blue start like moving them around. You hear cracking, you hear like just not good sounds, and then you see like little tiny bits of like him like turning their heads the completely wrong way, or turning their like bending their arms in ways that shouldn't go.
That was terrifying.
That and then you see what he was doing exactly with them, and this blue was like turning them into like just mashing them together into a ball,
a gross green gooey ball of collective body parts, and they just and they bunch a bunch of people together into these balls, and I'm like, oh, that's like
and that's like
scary
and
shit.
For the most part, these humans were alive when it happened, so I cannot imagine like them break their body parts breaking, and like see, that's why that terrified me as a kid.
That I could see, where like, and so these things do really well at what they do when they invade the earth. And they take over major cities everywhere. Like everything is covered in like this gross cocoon sort of webbing, gross material that they excrete.
Yep.
And it's everywhere. They have fucked over every city.
The blue essentially start appearing in 2017 in the timeline.
Yes.
And then in the span of 15 years, they have completely overrun the planet. There's no stopping them. They've destroyed the entirety of governments, military. There's no stopping them.
Yep.
And sorry, go on.
Oh no, you're gonna say no, you're fine. So, like you said, they take over the entire planet. So most of the surviving human race then to try to combat the blue, what they end up doing is they escape, right? So the human race moves to a a place called Second Earth that is a huge space station that orbits the planet. The series focuses on a relationship between Yuji, a human who also possesses these things called B cells, and Marlene, a soldier from Second Earth, as they work together to return to Second Earth and subsequently participate in military operations against the Blue. The series was followed by Blue Gender: The Warrior, which is a compilation movie that has an alternate ending in 2002. Blue Gender was also broadcast in the United Kingdom from 2002 to 2003 on the Sci-Fi Channel, which I think is pretty, but this is where I would expect to see this show.
Oh,
Sci-Fi
100%.
Channel.
It's a very sci-fi mech horror-based anime.
Like, it's like, I don't know, in a way it kind of reminds me of almost a little bit like Dead Space in a way.
Okay.
Like, rather than like, I know Dead Space takes place on a space station, but it's, I don't know, it's just kind of, it feels like it should have had that vibe to it. But I don't know. Overall, I enjoyed this show. I thought it was pretty good.
I definitely enjoyed the show. Still, like, even like, I haven't probably watched this in almost a decade, like fully. And I saw it in a brand new light this time, where there were a lot of things I didn't quite catch the first time, and other things I'm like, okay, I understand it a bit better now, or stuff that I feel like didn't age entirely well. I still think the ending's kind of a miss, I feel like, but that's just my personal opinion. But let's talk about what the show's actually like, kind of give you the background, the backstory of this.
I know you did say one thing. This is not going to spoil anything, but like you said, this has one of those weird endings where you have to go, what the fuck actually just happened?
100%.
Like, if you've seen Neon Genesis Evangelion,
it feels like that a little bit too sometimes.
It feels very like that, where it's this weird, ethereal, and it just, the pace of the show just totally changes, and you're like, what the fuck?
Right at the end, too. The last two episodes in general feel so different.
What happened? It gets nutty, but it's really cool. I did really enjoy it, and there's some really interesting twists and turns that this show takes. And so for me, this show was a very, I don't know, I would say it was a roller coaster, where it would have something really fucking cool at first. I'm like, this is badass. And then it would have a bunch of downtime with shit that I'm like, this shit does not matter at all. And then it would go back to something really cool. I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking go. And then back down where I'm like, the fuck is this? Why do I care? And then like towards the end, I'm like, hell yeah, this is fucking awesome. And then we get this weird ending where I'm like, back at the station?
What the fuck?
Is that it?
There's a lot of twists and turns in this show, but basically the synopsis of the show: in the year 2009, Yuji Kaido is an average young adult male diagnosed with a serious disease called the B cells. Which, first of all, we never get clarify exactly why this was such a bad thing.
So in the movie, did you catch they call it something else?
Okay. Then I don't think I quite caught that part yet.
Fuck, I meant to write that down too. It was called like the prophecy, it was like prophecy syndrome. So
okay, maybe I was zoned out of that part.
Yeah, and I meant to go back and actually double check that in the show I was like, I never heard that term before.
Right.
In the movie, they say it 2 times. I'm like, the fuck is prophecy syndrome? And in the movie, they change it to something like, they don't call it B cells, they call it this. And it sounds like these people, back in like you said, in 2017, they start having weird visions of the future, and they go all they would have seizures, basically.
Did I skip over that part?
And they didn't know what to do with it, so they put them into cryogenic stasis until they find a cure.
Okay. Well, and that's the thing is these B cells apparently brand new disease that just goes is scattered throughout the world, and scientists don't know what's going on, so they put these people into cryogenic stasis until a cure is found. They say only maybe 2 to 5 years tops, and they'll find a cure. Anyway, 22 years later,
22 years later,
he is awakened in the midst of a raging war between the armored soldiers and insectoid beings called the Blue, which have overrun the Earth. These soldiers were sent from Second Earth, a large space station orbiting Earth with thousands of people on board. These soldiers have one mission, and that is to recover any and all people that were put into stasis due to their affliction with the B cells and get them back to Second Earth. Among those soldiers is Marlene Angel, a fierce and cold-hearted woman dedicated to eradicating the blue. She was among the lucky few that made their way to Second Earth after her parents were killed by the blue when she was just 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
After recovering Yuji from one of the storage facilities where doctors and scientists have kept those afflicted by the B cells, they begin to make their way back to Second Earth, trying to get to the extraction points where a ship will launch them back to the space colony. But this will take them several days to travel, and the path is not easy. Together, the team must survive multiple encounters with various types of blue and groups of people that have continued to survive despite the many dangers around them. Those that still live on Earth have a deep hatred to those that come from Second Earth, because they were the ones left behind and deemed not worth saving, or seen as inconsequential to humanity's survival.
Yes.
And it's a bleak world. Like,
yes.
I get it. Like, there's very few resources, and you can't move the entirety of people up to Second Earth, so you had to leave people behind. And the mentality that these people have of Second Earth is like anybody that's left on Earth is pretty much looked at as already dead.
Yep. And that's one of the hardest parts to watch about this. Is there's a couple times where this group of soldiers, they in the beginning they come across Yuji Kaido, who's in this cryogenetic stasis thingy, and they find him like running around screaming because he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. He just wakes up from his capsule and was like, oh fucking like
he wakes up and he sees the blue and it's completely like I said, destroying those, molding those soldiers into a ball, and he literally pisses himself. Like, you see it, and I get it. Yeah.
Right? It's like the equivalent of how we have zombie things now. It's always they wake up from a coma in a hospital, but everything is dead. However, like, I mean, I don't know how long they were in there in a coma, like, not being fed through a tube. How did they wake up? Whatever. Some bullshit like that. Like, overnight, shit went bad. Well, this is 20 years. Right. So he wakes up in a whole new world of bullshit, and he's scared out of his mind, and he's as I want to do air quotes, saved by these soldiers who take them in because he is their mission to get them back to Second Earth. And on their way they do come across like some groups of people that are still out there surviving, but these people are starving. There's extremely little food. They are constantly in hiding. They have to always be very quiet and careful of their surroundings. They have to be very picky about where they are staying, because there's now that the blue have been around for so long, they know of like hot zones of like where not to go, like where there's the most activity, what kind of blue like come out in certain areas at what times of day, and where not to go.
There was the group of survivors that were able to survive in the middle of the city because they had this tiny little like harbor in the middle of this river, and they would walk across this beam to get back there because there was no flying blue in that area, which is very strange because typically every city they've been to, there's been flying blue. Right. And blue can't swim. That's actually one big thing, weakness they have, is that they cannot swim. They drown. They're
too heavy.
Yep. And so this society was able to live because no flying blue were around. But it's crazy. Yeah, like you said, like people are starving. They show like completely starved dead bodies. And it's just these people they're living in hell, essentially.
Now, when you say these blue are like too heavy, I mean these guys are like the size of a fucking semi-truck.
Yeah,
like they can be massive, and they are faster than they look. So like you said, they're more of like almost like a larva looking kind of thing, where they don't necessarily have arms or legs. They just kind of, I don't know, like worm their way around for the most part.
There's some blue like that, but then there are some that have like, 4 legs or 2 legs.
Yeah.
Some that look like praying mantises, or some that look
like...
that's
the one I remember most, but yeah.
Or, God, there's one that had like the weirdest freaking head that's like, it opened like this.
Oh, yeah.
It had like a giant mouth. But it just, it took up like it almost looked like a xenomorph a little bit, like the head structure looked like that, but the entire head opened up to reveal its mouth, and that was terrifying. And then like more species of blue kept coming out and discovering, like there were certain species that were only shown in certain parts of the country, some desert dwelling blue, some that appeared specifically in the mountains. It's so interesting. And then the big thing with the blue is the military was always talking about how they constantly evolve. At the start of the series, the blue they have one weak spot. It's a tiny, like, circular, like, it's called their core. It's kind of like a pulsating blue tube that usually appears on their front of their face or on their back, and usually if you kill that, it's an instant kill.
Yep.
But later on in the series, they come across a group of freshly hatched blue that appear to have now their cores protected. And that's a big shock to them, is like the blue are evolving to combat their one weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And their rest of their bodies are covered by armor plating. So like it's hard to get any shots out there unless you're using one of those mechs with their heavier artillery.
Mm-hmm. No,
it's nuts.
The mechs are really interesting. When I get into a little bit about Takahashi and his, how he was involved. Well, I mean, he's the creator of this, but his idea or concept of mechs are a little bit different than the more traditional ones that you see in more modern anime now, where these mechs, they have movable arms and limbs. Like, it's more like you've seen Aliens.
Yeah.
Right? You remember the yellow, I think it's called like the
power loader.
The power loader. Yes, yeah. That. It's a lot more like that, where you just are in this kind of not really a bucket seat, but you have like a harness that just kind of straps you in, like a roll cage that protects you from anything, and then you kind of pilot just arms that are nearby. I'd say these things are like 6, maybe 8 meters tall. They're not crazy big.
Right. They come in they're at least 3 different designs.
Mm-hmm.
One is more so meant for like using artillery, rifles. It's a little bit faster, slimmer design. Then you have the fighter. That's the only one I remember the title of it. The fighter class, which usually has 2 pilots having to pilot it. One that controls the feet and the movement, while the other one works the hands.
Yeah.
That one didn't have any artillery, at least in the beginning of the series. That one's primarily just big fists, like pummeling them.
Yep.
The blue, and that one was really cool. But did you also notice that like it had like the fighter had like a face
a little bit,
and it had like a mustache looking thing,
like a Dr. Eggman.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of thing. Yeah,
I couldn't unsee that.
Like totally, and it's kind of strange because like they don't really have like a head. It's not a full blown robot. It's almost more like an upright vehicle.
Well, I mean, no, there was faces. There was like helmets and like heads for each of these models, but
for the most part, the people are like exposed. They're just in a roll cage, so they don't need that, which is interesting,
right, in
his design. But the other thing that I thought was kind of strange, at least in terms of these earlier ones, is that they don't really move their legs. Their legs are on wheels, and their legs are practically stationary.
Oh, yep.
So that's one of Takahashi's, like, his key things to doing mechs. Like, in almost all of his mechs, he has done it this way. Like, he did another series right before this in 1999 called Garasaki. And that show is really cool. If you do get a chance to watch it, it's really neat. It's like feudal Japan meets modern day military, like war on Earth. There is no like space combat, space station-y shit, nothing like that. It's all grounded on Earth, and it's a lot more politically driven than this is. But you've got like a lot of just really powerful Japanese figureheads that are in control of all of this shit as like the politicians.
Right.
But the mechs, while they are piloted by people, there's another team of people supporting them, telling them different statistics like wind direction, speed, distance to targets, what kind of artillery they should or could use, and give them some direction or authorize use of certain weapons and stuff. So they have like full teams, watching over a handful of these guys. But again, if the mechs are on wheels.
Okay.
So, and it's interesting because we'll talk about that a little bit when we get into a little bit more into Takahashi. Now, let's talk about this fucking amazing cast.
Oh my god, I had no idea. Like, now being an adult looking at this cast, there are so many big name voice actors in this show, and a lot of them are specifically Dragon Ball alumni.
Yes.
Which Yuji Kaito is voiced by the voice actor who portrayed Future Trunks in the anime, and Marlene Angel is voiced by Laura Bailey, who is the voice actress for young Trunks.
Oh yeah,
that's super cool. Like adult Trunks and younger Trunks, kind of weird later on.
See, I'm glad you knew those, because I only caught the one big one that everybody knows, just Goku, played by Sean Schemmel.
Yeah. Sean Schemmel voices a character by the name of Rick. He doesn't have a last name. It's just Rick.
Just Rick.
And Rick you meet later down the line in the show. But yeah, Sean Schemmel's in this. Christopher Sabat plays Keith Bean, one of the earlier members of the party that is trying to get Yuji back to Second Earth. You have Kyle Herbert, who voices Seno Miyagi, the head researcher of the science division on Second Earth.
Dude, he's like
he looks just like that guy from from Neon Genesis. Like he looks like somebody from Neon Genesis.
Yeah, he looks a lot like fucking Shinji's dad.
Yeah. Get in the robot, Yuji.
Yuji, you're my only son. Pilot the fucking robot. God damn.
There's so many Dragon Ball actors, voice actors in this show that once I heard them, I couldn't unhear it. You got Trunks. You got both versions of Trunks, Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan. It's so cool. The voice acting and cast for this show was superb in my opinion.
Right? Like, so I remember listening to so I watched this show largely. This was one that I actually had a chance to pay attention to. And then while I was at work just the other day finishing the movie, there's a part where Rick says something like right near the middle of near the film. And I remember going, wait, hold the fuck on. Like, that voice sounded just like, and he said something like, oh, you idiot. And I was like, did Goku just call that guy an idiot? And I was like, wait, who's the fucking voice actor for this? I lost my mind. And I'm like, oh shit. And so I'm glad most of these other guys. I would have never looked too into them as far as, what other shows they're in. But yeah, now that like I've been looking at these, I see them like, yeah, holy shit, they're all like Dragon Ball people. And I love how the science director Miyagi, he reminds me a lot of like, he would have been the kid that definitely got picked on in school a lot. Like he looks like he would try, like he would be the kind of kid you'd be like, ooh, nice clothes, Neo. Like he would be the guy that would get made fun of for that.
Man wears sunglasses everywhere he goes.
No, the other thing that's really funny, like I could picture him doing the whole, like in Grandma's Boy, the dude who always fucking wore the trench coat, who was super fucking
oh god,
the video game developer guy. That's what he's like the cool new school video game developer. Like it's totally what he looks like. He feels a little out of place compared to every other character just in his appearance. Like he's too edgy for everybody.
Another character of Tony Frost is voiced by Jerry Jewell, and I know I've heard him. His voice is so memorable to me. And I'm looking at his IMDb. He voiced Ice Shenron in Dragon Ball GT, Leon in Fairy Tail.
Oh no shit!
He has voiced a lot of characters,
wow.
And I'm looking. Like he's done some video games, like for the Tales series he's worked on. I know he's in Yu Yu Hakusho. I freaking know it. That voice just sounds so familiar. I just can't think of who. Oh, he also voiced the Bat in Rosario Plus Vampire.
Oh no shit! Whee!
Yep. He's the voice actor for that. He voiced Nam in Dragon Ball, which is kind of odd because Nam is definitely not. Jin. He voiced Jin in Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh,
Jin the Windmaster.
Oh shit. Okay, hold on. So the guy who plays Yuji. Now, first of all, I want to say Yuji, at least in the first half, is the whiniest motherfucker alive.
You gotta admit, like, woke up thinking he was gonna get his illness cured, and then he's like, oh, giant insects have taken over the planet, you're fucked.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, yes, that part is scary, but he'll be like, I wanna fight these guys, give me a gun. And as soon as he's like, I can't do this, and he just freezes all the fucking time and just like, oh my god, like these whiny as
these soldiers have trained their whole lives, or at least many years, to fight the blue.
Right,
and
but
he's
for like
just,
a second, he's like, I'm going to be a badass. He's like, I changed my mind. I'm not going to be a badass.
I can imagine like being put in that scenario. I would be scared too, like to come face to face against one of them.
The other thing too is I really wish Yuji kept his long hair. He starts off with long hair.
Wait, he does?
Yes, he has long. At least maybe that's only in the movie, but in the movie he has long hair, and I went, "That's fucking cool."
You know, I probably skipped the first couple bits of the movie because I'm thinking like
he cuts it off and becomes the Yuji that we all know, which kind of has like a weird head shape. But
man, looks like he like looked at Guile from Street Fighter as a inspirational.
He's my role model.
Yep, as a role model. There you go.
He
That's
sits
the
down
word.
with the barber chair. I want that.
The man also has like sideburns for days. It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, he does.
But yeah, the voice acting for this show is great. I think some of the dialogue was a little cringe, but I mean, it was an anime, you know, back in the early 2000s, and that's gonna happen.
That's fair.
I think
Eric
also
Vale did fucking Shinji Kamuro from Mob Psycho.
Oh, okay,
dude,
he's
I
doing good.
love me some Mob Psycho. Also, he played Sanji in the One Piece film Red.
Oh yeah, yep. One Piece is actually now primarily done by Dragon Ball voice actors.
Yeah.
You have Christopher Sabat doing the voice of Zoro. You have whoever voiced Krillin. I can't remember his name. He voices Usopp now. It's a lot of Dragon Ball cast.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's. I watched the 4Kids version dub, so it was very weird seeing those characters being voiced by different people. At least what I was used to.
That's fucking awesome.
But I think the characters were all pretty great. I really enjoyed a lot of the characters in this show, and this show, it's very Game of Thrones like. You know,
really?
I feel like anybody can die.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, it's not even that like anybody can die. Like a lot of people die, but that's kind of what sucks. Is like most of these people have so little character development because you almost know that like that's what's gonna happen. Which is why you're like, oh, you learned their first name and nothing else about them. That's weird. Oh, next episode they're dead, and you're like, well, I guess that makes sense. Like, they're not going to waste my time. But at the same time, it doesn't really add to any mystery to me. Like, you don't get to know these people ever and then be shocked when they die. It's just, hey, my name's Keith. Oh, there I go.
First of all, that sounded nothing like Keith. He's very angry. Dude, I
Keith
really
dying right there. Save me, Yuji.
That's definitely not. That's Kermit, not Keith.
Hey, Yuji.
Jeez, I kind of wish that was his voice now. Oh man!
You think there is a oh my god, a fucking, what is it, Team 4-Star fucking dub?
If there's not, we should do one. Men of Zen dub. That's how we get famous.
Dude,
more famous.
That'd be so fucking funny.
Now, question though. Before we get to the creator, the soundtrack for this show. Not talking. We'll talk in a second about the outro and intro, but the soundtrack for the show itself, the music and the background music they used, I think was superb. 10 out of 10. Chef's kiss to really set like the tone.
It had a lot of cool ambience, and it was really dark, and they did do a pretty good job with that. I will definitely give them that.
It definitely puts you on edge a little bit in certain spots, and during the action scenes, the music picks up, and it definitely amps you up.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those. I think the soundtrack, was perfect for this show. Now, the intro song it starts out like in the first like 3 seconds, you're like, okay, something big's about to happen, and then it goes into like a poppy funky beat, and then it goes into like, it almost made me feel like, you know, Christian prayer music, and I don't like that. I think it was the wrong choice for an anime, but like I said, it was in the early 2000s, late 90s. That was kind of the thing that
like it feels like it wanted to have, like you said earlier, this show, it wants to have that really adult feel to it. So they wanted you to make you feel like this was something that was either for people smarter than you, or for people that were just an older target audience. So the intro, at least like visually, it does have. Now this show is riddled with naked people.
Oh my god, can we talk about that?
It is riddled with naked people, and the intro is no different. The intro immediately has a naked Marlene Angel.
Well, you're thinking the outro.
Oh, is that the end? Oh, you know what? You're right. It is the outro. It is the outro. But either way, like intro, outro, like they both had this feel of it wants to be more prominent and wants to be important, but the song does not fit.
Yeah, these two songs do not fit the tone of the show.
Match at all, and I don't understand how they came to conclusion that yes, that's the song that I want. Now, what is really cool in the show towards the end, I don't remember what episode they do play the song Blue Gender Cry by Toki Hanate does have a Japanese version.
Oh, okay.
Which does have a slightly different recording. It's the same song, but hearing it in Japanese makes it feel much more sad to me, and I'm like, this makes more sense a little bit. But they played it a couple spots in the middle of the show, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I did like that one. However, what I do have for you here is a sample of the intro, so you can know exactly what we're talking about. Check this out here.
Like it's good building up, and then
there's just loneliness and missing memories of happiness. I look over all that's left, and it's scary is what I find. I grow weary of this fear that causes a tear in my very soul. I don't wanna be afraid of what lies ahead. I don't know. Hear my voice. Set me free now. Come on, hear me, baby, set me free. Distant past.
yeah, just it's not a bad song, I don't think. It's just not the right song for this series.
Right, and it's so strange. Like, I don't know how to put it. It just, I don't know. The intro is nothing but giant weird insects getting blown up, and it's come on, baby, won't you set me free? I'm like, who's getting set free?
Like, yeah, a lot of fighting, a lot of mechs, a lot of big blue getting their asses blown off. And then like the outro is literally Marlene like naked walking through water, and it's just like straight up like they do not leave anything to the imagination. You just see like straight up titty.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where this is that time period where a lot of people in North America, I feel like, still saw anime as for kids.
Right.
So I feel like this show, just for the sake of like, no, this isn't for kids. See, look, here's boobs. And that's like what I imagine they were talking about.
There's a big thing with the entire series. Like there's this underlayer of like sex and female reproductive parts, because throughout the show you see like members of the military or members of Second Earth just randomly out of nowhere grabbing titties and kissing on each other and like, hey, we're just gonna have sex right now.
It's very casual, and it's almost like it's like how it is in today's society, where obviously you have to fucking get permission. That's a big no. You don't just come on to some chick and expect to get some. But in this society, it's almost like
that's bad.
Everyone understands that humanity is like dying, and they're like, let's just bone, okay? And everyone just does it.
Yeah, it's what they use, or what they say it is that they want to feel alive, because at any moment they could die while they're on Earth. So they just take advantage anytime they can to feel alive. So there are definitely moments in the show where like you see people about to get busy, or people fondling each other.
Sees people about to get busy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the awkward third wheel here," and, like looking at him from around the corner, and he's like, "I saw what you did, Marlene. You don't love me."
It's just like this weird thing of like, Keith, some girl was typing away at his computer, and he's there, and he's like, You just see him like take off his vest, just fondling her boobs, and it's like, what the hell? And she's completely just doesn't even care. She's just still typing away, and it's Oh man,
It's strange.
and then like a lot of
So
people
weird.
have compared like the blue genders' faces and the mouths, especially when their cores were not like armored covered.
Yeah.
People are saying that's the vagina.
And that's one
that
thing I don't
core
know if we actually
it's the thing that
talked
all men
about.
have been looking for.
Yeah. So these creatures, the blue, like you mentioned, they have a core, and that is how the blue die.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Mhm.
is
Blow it up,
it's the
it's gone.
Yeah, it's the glowing spot on the boss monster in the video game. You hit the core and it's the weak spot. It's Luke's shoot a missile into this fucking vent and blow it up. Is really what it is. It's the Death Star self-destruct. So
Right.
you shoot it in this core, which for some reason is just fucking out there. Like, it's not protected. It's just like
At least to start.
they have, I mean, it's like the fucking putty from Power Rangers.
Oh my
Or
god!
not
Punch
that-
him in the Z.
Yeah, punch him in the Z and they die. Why is that there, other than to just be an easy kill? Why not just take that away?
Because convenience, plot purposes.
Maybe hide it inside the body, like the human heart.
Hell,
make
like-
it harder to get to.
But like you gotta admit, like looking at it when they open their mouths and you see like their mouths completely open, it's like Teeth. You know that movie Teeth
Yeah.
with the fanged
Yes.
vagina? Yeah,
Yes.
that one pretty much is that.
It's that.
It's super odd, like this undertone of like sex and women's reproductive organs
Yeah.
in this anime about giant man-eating bugs and robots. It's very early 90s.
Yeah, it's
I feel like
it does have this mash of like they wanted all things that make anime great and more, like you said, more adult, like we've been talking about. So they've got sex, they've got edgy music, they've got some pretty damn decent art most of the time, which is pretty cool. Everything is really serious. There's almost never any levity. It's always there's something on the line. Someone's life is on the line. They have to do the mission.
there's no humor in this show.
Yeah, it's tragic, and there's a few characters that like I do like you want to get attached to, like the little girl. I fucking forget what her name is in the city.
Yoon.
Yeah, Yoon, and that's really cool. I liked that relationship that they were trying to build. But again, like it just kind of a lot of times it just feels like it amounts to nothing. Like they'll start something and be like, okay, well, bye, never see you again.
I think that's the tone of the show, though, is
But,
like not
yeah.
making these connections because the blue destroy everything, and they,
That's true.
there's no in the whole dynamic of the show. Yuji being like wanting to help everybody at the start, and Marlene being the cold-hearted bitch, essentially, that
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit about anybody, and how their roles reverse as the show goes on, where Marlene learns to become more empathetic towards people, while
Yeah.
Yuji becomes more hardened, and it's a really cool, just kind of character dynamic between them. And I want to talk so much more about like certain situations, certain parts, but I don't want to spoil anything.
Right.
It's 26 episodes. If you really want to see a condensed version, you can watch the movie.
It's almost too condensed in some ways.
They
Like,
took out
skips a
so much
lot.
stuff.
Now, because they took out so much, though, it really changes. It almost changes the plot
Oh, it does 100%.
quite a bit.
Because you have 26 episodes at about 20 to 25 minutes a piece.
Mhm.
So that's about 13 hours, give or take.
Mhm.
And they condense it down to
It's like an hour and a half.
yeah. Or maybe I'm
It's-
stupid. Maybe my hours aren't. Maybe I'm not doing math right for time. 26 episodes at 20 minutes a piece. That's 3 episodes per
Yeah,
hour.
You're right. It's roughly, I mean, by the time you do like 20, 25 minutes an episode, maybe give or take, yeah, it's like 12-ish hours,
Cool.
12 to
Yeah.
13, something
So
like that.
they take away 10 hours of content, 10 or 13 hours of content, and it's hard to get attached to these characters when everything's so condensed.
They do it in a pretty good way, though, to where, like in the series, you'll meet a whole bunch of new members of soldiers
their group.
from Second Earth and shit like that, and they remove all of that. So it's like you never meet anybody, and it's
Mhm.
just Yuji and Marlene's journey to get to Second Earth. And that's about it.
Yes, because essentially, just like the tone of the show, is that everything they plan all plans go to shit.
Mhm.
And the simple extraction and go back to Second Earth becomes this completely muddled and harrowing journey.
Yeah, the people that they leave out from Second Earth even are really important to the TV series, and since they cut them out in the movie, it totally shifts who is seen as like the main person that runs the space station.
Yep.
And because of that change, it really shifts a lot of the plot, and it was just really weird. But I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was pretty cool. But hey, we are at about for like 40 minutes, so we got a little bit of time left here. So we're going to take a quick break and hear about one of our partners and a couple other ads here, and we will be right back. Hey everybody, Brent here. I've got a really fun announcement for everybody today. We are going to be doing our first ever The Men of Zen podcast giveaway, and we are giving away the entire series of Blue Gender on DVD, including the movie Blue Gender The Warrior, along with a couple of the Men of Zen podcast vinyl stickers in a couple different sizes. To enter this contest, simply follow the Men of Zen Facebook page and follow The Barn Media. Go to the official post that we will be making about this competition, tag a friend, and that's it. Once you've done those two things, we will be doing a drawing live on the next episode, in which case we will get with you via Facebook about your winnings, where we can ship this stuff to. Thank you everybody for listening. This has been so fun to do, and we couldn't have done this without your support, so we wanted to reward you guys. Thanks everybody again. On to the next ad.
Hey guys, I want to take a quick break to talk to you about our show's partner, Dubby Energy. You know, that sweet, new, upcoming energy drink that you're dying to try? Well, let me tell you what. We got the goods. We got the hookup for you. Did you know that Dubby was formulated to give you the focus and energy you need with no jitters or crash? Their patented formula contains vitamins, amino acids, and neurotropics, including the patented Neurofactor. Dubby also contains no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no filters, and no artificial colors. And with our discount code, Men of Zen at checkout, you get 10% off your entire order. Check out some of their new flavors like Big Energy Tears, or the Dragonade Energy Drink, or Dub Sludge. They got some apparel, they got some shaker cups, they got it all. So check out w.gg, use our discount code Men of Zen for 10% off your order. Back to the show. All right, now let's dig into the true reason for the season here. The creator, Ryosuke Takahashi. Now, like I said, this guy has been all over the place, and he's super prominent. It's amazing to be able to do some research on this guy. Born January 11th in 1943, a Japanese anime director, screenwriter, and producer, as well as creator. He's worked for Sunrise on many anime shows in the real robot genre, including Armored Trooper Votoms, which is super old, Fang of the Sun Dogram, Panzer World Gallant, and Blue Comet SPT Leisner. I don't know how to say that. So I found a really good article from Forbes, actually, that this guy did an interview, and he had some wonderful things to say. I couldn't find a whole lot else about this guy. However, he says he grew up in Adachi Ward of Tokyo. While the rivers in Tokyo were still clean, he learned how to swim and row a boat at the Arakawa River floodway. So when he was little, that's kind of what he did. He wasn't necessarily a cave explorer like we see so many other artists are like known for. I was originally interested in manga, more specifically the monthly release of manga books, and among them was Astro Boy, which is something I followed. When I was small, I wasn't really interested in animation because it was only really shown in theaters, so it wasn't something I had a lot of access to, as movie releases were every few years. When I got a bit older, around the time of middle school or high school, I was still interested in Astro Boy. After graduation, I went to work at a trading company, so I started working in something very different from animation. Around the time my friends and I used to discuss the new Astro Boy animation, as it was then available on television every week. That's what I got interested in animation, and I decided to totally change my career and go do that. The first animation company I worked for was Mushi Production with Osamu Tezuka.
We know that name. That's the man that basically saved anime, and he's the god of anime. I know we talked about him in one of our past episodes. I don't remember which one. Just go listen to it. Well, and to do that, you will have to go to our archived episodes on our original Facebook, or not original Facebook, but our original YouTube page, as we have moved, to the barn page now. So you'll be able to do that. Osamu Tezuka, I want to do an episode like just on him. If there's enough information out there, I mean, it's so cool. He also says, when I entered the company, it was as an animator, but I didn't do any drawing at all. Instead, I checked the progress and helped to manage the production to ensure the schedule proceeded as planned. I did that for about 1 year on Astro Boy. In the second year, I then worked on The Amazing 3. The Amazing 3 is cool. I got a little information on that. Back then, there weren't really any directors for TV series in terms of animation. Obviously, Tezuka was the overall director, but the management of the animation was undertaken by other people. On these projects, there were around 4 people doing a director-like job, and one of them was me. I was supposed maybe like an assistant director. Mushi Production also went bankrupt once and was rebooted. I wasn't related to the reboot, only the initial company, and I worked there for about 5 years. Now, The Amazing 3. This sounds wild. I couldn't find anything on it. Here's the synopsis. The Galactic Federation is concerned about the number of wars on planet Earth. It sends 3 agents to determine if the planet is a potential threat to the universe, and whether it should be destroyed or not. The instrument of destruction is a device resembling a large black ball with 2 antennae on it that are variously called an anti-proton bomb, a solar bomb, and a neutron bomb. The agents, Captain Boko, Noko, and Puko, are originally humanoid in appearance, but upon arrival on Earth, they take on the appearances of a rabbit, which is Boko, a horse, Noko, and a duck, Puko.
Interesting.
They had captured as examples of Earth life forms. So these things come to Earth, we're like, we can spy on people and make sure they're cool. I know, I'll be a fucking duck. that'll fool them. And I guess it works. I don't know. It's fucking bizarre as hell, but it sounds like it'd be a pretty fun time.
Oh, that does sound pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
Super strange, man. So Takahashi then went on to work on the anime Fang of the Sun Dogram. This is where he starts to get more into mech shit. It's a mech anime where the mechs were more vehicular in nature with arms, legs, and various weapons equipped. While working on Dogram, Sunrise Inc., later turning into what we know as Bandai. Boom.
What?
Yes, right? Sunrise was successful partly because of this man and is now Bandai.
Oh
the
my
things
God.
we know and love, which explains why there's so many Dragon Ball actors involved.
Huh. Okay.
Right?
I see what you're saying. I see what you're putting down.
So Sunrise was still a growing company and didn't have the finances available to keep up with production costs, so they reached out to a toy company to be their sponsor. The toy company gave Takahashi complete creative freedom to do anything he wanted with the series as long as the toys sold well. That's such a cool idea that a lot of American toys got into when we're looking at things like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Yep.
All that fucking Transformers, all that shit was a lot of, here's a toy, here's a show to go along with the toy. Now you know why the toys are cool. No, go fucking buy our shit, you little fuck. go to your mom and dad. I don't care how poor they are. You want that fucking Optimus Prime. You want that half-naked buff man with a sword.
You steal that credit card.
You steal that credit card. Just fucking do it. Walk up to the counter, say your mom had given you permission, ring it up. Don't even care. Walk out of there with a shopping cart full of toys.
There you go. What are they going to do? Stop you? You're a child.
Yeah, they don't fucking care. You're too cute to stop. The next series that he went to work on was Armored Trooper Votoms, and this was one of his more popular works, where the series was darker, grittier, a much more interesting look, in my opinion, at how mech robots would shape the future of war. The mechs were designed to be about 4 meters tall due to to how it would look when animated compared to other characters, buildings, etc., and still considered to be a mech large enough to pilot. They would also use wheels to move, much like his current ones. At first, he thought this would come across as a bit childish because of the toys he had grown up with all had wheels on the bottom, so he added a more violent sound to the animation when rolling to counteract this feeling, which is kind of interesting. I never would have really thought about that in terms of doing the animation and then going, what does that sound like? What's not going to sound cheesy? At a time where he's practically inventing the genre here. Like, this had never really been done before, so it's cool how much like thought has to go into things like that. Like, what is just the sound of the fucking wheels? Is it cool enough? Are kids gonna go, hey, that sounds a lot like my fucking Hot Wheels car? Like, just fucking skirting across the ground firing guns. That'd be fucking hysterical, man. But yeah, Votom's looks much more interesting. Like, I'm sure you have it pulled up as well. I've got a couple pictures here for the shows where the top one for Sun Dogram, right, is it almost looks like it's supposed to be like a police transformer, where the top is like a helicopter kind of cockpit, and then it's a mech that has like red lights on the chest. The one down beneath it for Votom, that's more what you see in line with like a Gundam. It's immediately more mature, more sinister.
Oh yeah, like this straight up, like the way that the eyes are positioned, it looks very similar to the mechs in Blue Gender.
Yeah, yep, yeah, it really does. And shit, the not the Zaku. What the
Zaku from like from Gundam. Gundam. Very similar to that too.
Yeah, it looks very similar to that. That's what it reminds me of. It's just like a dark army green. That was a lot more military. So considering how brutal and dark Votom's was as a series and universe, the next anime he went to work on, called Panzer World Gallant, took a very different route. Set in the seemingly medieval planet of Arst, the despotic martyr has somehow found a mysterious new mecha that has allowed him to conquer half of the world. Thrust into this is the infant Geordie, a prince whose kingdom was destroyed by Martyr, but whose legacy could have far-reaching consequences. Gallant kept the focus more on realism and stringent rule set for the mecha, but placed them in a more fantastical setting, where swords and a hint of magic were present. This seems more like the robot almost looks more like Voltron.
Oh yeah, like or early like 1980s Transformers.
Yeah, yep, very. And it's super different from Votom's in that style. So that one's really strange, and the fact that there is magic in that is also strange, considering that it's a mech anime. I don't know, fucking weird to me, but seems like it could be pretty cool. I might check that one out.
Yeah.
After Panzer World Gallant, Takahashi went on to produce and direct many different series throughout the 80s and 90s, but it's in 1998 and 1999 that Takahashi and Hajime Yatate co-created the series Garasaki, a mecha anime television series produced by Sunrise. The series centers on Yushiro Gowa, who pilots a bipedal weapon system known as a TA, short for tactical armor. Much of the initial plot is driven by means of news reports. Set in the near future of
at the time.
At the time. Set in the near future, the series is formed around political narratives that concern a fictional war between the U.S. and the fictional Middle Eastern country of Belgistan. An influential Japanese family, the Goa, produces a bipedal weapon, the TA. When the U.S. military forces attempt to seize the capital, they are systematically wiped out by what appear to be rival TAs. The Goa family seized this opportunity to demonstrate their weapons system, and civilian pilot Yushiro Goa and the military squad to which he is attached to are deployed to Belgistan. There he meets rival TA pilot Miharu, with whom he seems to share a deep spiritual bond. The series has a mix of futuristic and historical narratives, and includes elements of Japanese culture such as No, Shinto, rigid family hierarchies, corruption of government by Zaibatsu, The Zaibatsu, which are ultra wealthy family and groups of the Meiji period, and samurai also appear throughout the series. So, no, interesting facts here, is a style of theater that's often based on tales from traditional literature with a supernatural being transformed into human form as a hero narrating the story. No integrates masks, costumes, and various props in a dance-based performance. This is a lot of stuff that you see whenever there's like an animation or even a movie where there's like a Japanese stage play, where
Right.
some of it kind of comes off a little like corny at first, but that's how it's supposed to be. They use like a lot of the streamers and stuff for effect, like an explosion, and they'll throw like red streamers out. This was a much bigger deal in the Meiji period that's continued now almost as like a cultural event. It's really cool. Shinto is a Japanese religion that revolves around supernatural entities called the kami. The kami are believed to inhabit all things, including forces of nature and prominent landscape locations. So this is where like a lot of the cool spiritual stuff is. Like Yuki, I would imagine, is more of like a Shinto from our last episode that we did. After Garasaki, Takahashi began working on the series Blue Gender.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
reason for the season right
that's
now.
the good stuff. That's the salt and pepper, baby. Bam, bash it in there. Never have too much salt. Fucking get in there. High blood pressure. Welcome to America. Open your mouth and you shove a spoonful of salt in there. That's the seasoning for us. This was broadcast in Japan from 1999 to 2000 and spans 26 episodes. Blue Gender was animated by the Japanese studio AIC and distributed in the United States by Funimation.
Funimation.
You should be watching.
Just about to do that. Get out of my head, Brent.
One of the company's first non-Dragon Ball licenses.
Ooh.
In 2003, Blue Gender was released on American television as part of Cartoon Network's Adult Swim block,
Nailed it.
though it had originally been planned for a Toonami broadcast.
Semi-nailed it.
This was thus edited to remove more of its graphic, violence, nudity, and sex scenes than usual, even for Adult Swim standards. However, it aired uncut on the Funimation channel in the United States. The series was followed by Blue Gender The Warrior, a compilation movie with an alternate ending. In 2002, Blue Gender was also broadcast in the United Kingdom from 2002 to 2003 on the Sci-Fi Channel, like we mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And that's the story of Blue Gender and Ryosuke Takahashi.
I dig it.
And I mean, this guy has worked on so many more anime. It's stupid. These are just like his biggest, like most prominent ones, I feel like. But yeah, his fucking catalog of stuff he's done is insane. The godfather of robo people being piloted by smaller people.
Did you know when technically you're pregnant, you become a mech? You become a Gundam?
You know, you're not wrong. You know, the other thing I was thinking about at work the other day, I was like, oh, is fucking Clifford the Big Red Dog a kaiju?
Yes. Is that even a question? Yes.
Right? Like, are we gonna fucking see Godzilla and then Clifford like, sup, dog?
Dude, I would watch that movie in a heartbeat. Clifford versus Godzilla.
Oh
Let him
my
yeet
God.
Clifford into the sun. Oh,
That
man.
would be so good.
Oh,
Holy
man.
shit.
But before we wrap it up, because I know we're probably getting close there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I want to say, like, overall as a series, is as a series I watched when I was a kid. Watching it now as a full-grown man and 31 years old, I will admit there are certain parts of it that have not aged as well as I remember them. I want to say the first half of the series, while they're making their way to Second Earth, I think is great. It has very little downtime. It's constantly going up and up and up and up. And then when they eventually get to Second Earth, for the second half of the series, it did a lot more like slower story beats, and it focused more on the people in Second Earth and like the drama and the politics of people running this space station and their ultimate goal to get back to Second Earth. That was put more of a focus on, and the blue became less frightening even for a little bit. They lost their terror. Near the end they kind of get it back, And I want to say the very end, the last blue that the last blue you see on screen is absolutely terrifying
Mhm.
and a really cool thing to watch. The last 2 episodes in particular are very different than I feel like the most of the entire series. Like the animation budget went ham in comparison to the rest of the series. Overall, I feel like episodes 1, like the first half, great. It's 9 out of 10. I'd say like 8.5 to 9 out of 10.
Right.
Second half, I feel like kind of slows down a bit and probably it goes anywhere from like a 6 to a 7. The last episode though, I think was pretty solid. Is a great way. God, it's so hard to say this. It's a good way for the series to have ended, but also it left us with a lot of questions. And there's a whole big metaphorical a point or like a what's the word I'm thinking of, Brent? I know there's a word God, I'm stupid. It's moral of the story, this overarching ideal about the entirety of why the blue gender came to be, and
what's the overall grand scheme? What's the major story? Now, interestingly, I don't know. This is one of those shows that if someone were to ask me what TV series needs to be remade today?
100%. I was going to bring this up. Yes, this needs to be remade in newer style. Not that 3D bullshit. Do not give me that.
No, please no.
Maybe the mechs, but the characters, no. Redo it in the newer animation styles that are
make the blue scary and grotesque. Do this show more justice, because this is it's a good idea and it's a great 90s show. But if you've seen any anime from the 90s, a lot of it does almost every anime comes off a little bit cheesy in some ways. And you're like, maybe at the time it was pretty cool because back then it was a little edgy, but now it's a little harder to watch. But if they do this show justice and really bring it into the fucking modern century of anime, this could blow your mind.
Right. I wouldn't say try to reboot the entire story, maybe change some things about it, but overall just update the animation style, make the blue more terrifying, and
some better dialogue, a little bit more interaction with characters.
Yep.
Maybe actually put some movement on the screen sometimes rather than just draw a single image and pan upwards.
Yeah. I agree with that. Overall, though, I really like this show. And if I were to give it a rating nowadays, I'd say a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think it is a above average, solid anime choice that you really, as a fan of anime, you should give it a shot and, make up your own mind on it. But I'm hoping listening to us today has made you want to check it out.
This was way better than I gave it credit for, considering that I skipped over it entirely during my time when I was watching Adult Swim and Toonami way back in the day. So, according to Google doesn't have its own review. However, reviews on my anime list rate it at roughly a 7 out of 10 on just about every other site. IMDb is a 7.2. My anime list is a 7.1. A couple reviews, some real short ones here from Lordlicious. My body stays vicious. They gave this show 5 stars and said, loved it. It was quite the good apocalyptic Earth anime show, with lots of hidden surprises in its storyline as it progresses onwards on through the series. For those of you who want to see one of the shows that inspired later animes like, is it Move Love, Alternative? I don't know that one. I'll have to check that one out. Then this one will be for you. One person found this helpful. Another really good short one, another 5-star. If you are into old mecha sci-fi anime, then you are going to love it. It is very sad that anime communities do not talk about old but great animes like Blue Gender. I loved its story and animation style. You must give it a try. This really is, it's a classic series. I feel like looking at it now that I have seen this, I can see where the community is it is very lesser known. A lot of people don't talk about it, but then as soon as one person brings it up, you're gonna be like, "Ooh, wait, you talking about that show Blue Gender?" Like,
so that's, to me, this feels like one of those shows that helped get me into darker anime. And
Yeah.
help me see that there is more to anime than just colorful, bright characters and laughing, and everyone gets a happy ending.
yep.
This show definitely showed me that there are different types of anime out there.
Yeah, for me, that series was Ghost in the Shell.
Ooh,
Holy
okay.
shit. And I'm totally doing an episode on that in the future, the movies and standalone complex. But that was the show where I was like, wait, this is like big kid stuff.
Isn't
Holy
that the
fuck.
anime with Scarlett Johansson?
I guess.
I
man.
guess.
Well, shit. Yeah, we are coming up onto time here. Do you have any last things you want to say before we wrap this thing up?
I was just going to say thank you guys so much for watching and listening and just giving us all the support we could ask for. We really do appreciate it. It helps us continue doing what we do, which we love to do.
Yeah.
And,
This has been super fun. We love bringing this stuff to you guys. It gives me a reason to watch new shows. It gives me a reason to live. So
thank you for giving Brent a reason to live.
yeah, no, like you said, thank you guys so much. We super appreciate it. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which we are barely on. You can check us out on all of those. We do have our link tree in our bio on our TikTok page as well that we are on.
Hell yeah, we just started that.
Yeah, we're trying to do some fun little TikToks that we get from each episode. We're not necessarily doing any of the fun, like...
Not doing any dances, sadly, yeah. Trust me, you don't want to see us dancing.
Like, we're not fucking doing any of that shit. Not yet, anyway. I don't know.
We'll see how badly we need views.
Yeah, fucking, I don't know. But yeah, we're on TikTok now, so that's cool. Also, again, like if you're listening to this now, clearly you know we're on The Barn now, so go check us out on The Barn Media, anywhere that you can Google that shit, on YouTube, Spotify. Those are our big two, but we're also now on Apple Music and anywhere else that you get your podcasts. Really, we're out there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so go check that shit out, and go check out some of the other podcasts that are out on The Barn Media, like Birds and Swords. If you like that nerdy video game shit, go check them out. If
I
you
fucking love that shit.
Right? If you like heavy metal and just fucking having a good time with some cool dudes, go check out Vulgar Display of Podcasts. They're a wicked good time with some amazing guests that they have on from some big bands like Fear Factory, Currents. It's super cool. I'm super excited to be working with these guys. Yeah, well, I think that's gonna do it for us here at the Men of Zen podcast. Once again, my name is Brent.
I'm Phil.
Thanks again for listening, everybody, and
Stay zen.